Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville. Welcome to Impact. It's my privilege on a regular basis to be able to share information about great things that are happening right here in our community and beyond. Today I have the privilege of talking with two members of an elite musical organization that we're very proud to say is a product of our own community, the Oakwood University Aeolians. Joining me today is, first of all, director of that august group, Jason Ferdinand. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Kenny. Nice to be here.
It's always good to have you here. And of course, we've had a chance to interact on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
And every time I'm around you, you inspire me. So thank you for being here today.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
Also with us, another gentleman, and I'm going to tell you inspire me too for a different reason. I'm going to share why in just a moment, but Justin Jordan is here with us today. He's a member of the world-class Aeolians. Welcome to the broadcast.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We've had a chance to interact as well, and I think it's okay if I say I've watched Jordan grow up and mature from just a small boy, attending the same church, very musically talented at that time, along with his brother Jeremy, and had an opportunity to watch you just blossom into a great young man today. I love seeing what you're doing. I love seeing you using your talents and your gifts, and you inspire me by doing those things. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. The Aeolians, wow, this is hot. You know, I don't know if you guys feel what I feel, but I'm just so honored to have you here today because this group really continues to set the bar as far as music is concerned. And Jason, I've asked you this before in another venue, but I'm going to ask you for the TV audience right now to just tell me, what is it like to be the director of this organization?
Man, when I think about it, then I get scared and all other words. But when I sit back and think about it, first of all, it's a great honor and privilege. I'm thoroughly humbled to be part of this legacy that started back in 1946. We've had a great line of conductors and directors that have each made their own individual marks on this legacy. So I just want to do what I'm doing and then pass it on to the next person. So until then, I'm going to have as much fun. But it's just a great honor to be part of it.
And you really do have a lot of fun with your direction and your, I call it the choreography of Jason Ferdinand when you're directing the choir. I enjoy watching you as much as I enjoy hearing the choir sing because you seem to bring something out of them. And I know that has to be uniquely related to the relationship that you have with the group. From the point that you audition people and then begin building that group. And I know that your group, one of the things that makes it significant is that over the course of a 4-year, 5-year period, you're going to have attrition. You're going to have people that are no longer there for various reasons. Many have graduated, gone to different schools and other kinds of things. How do you as a director continue to, year after year, build the kind of quality group that you seem to sustain?
Well, first of all, I think Oakwood is just a blessed place that talented students come every year. I don't want to ever take that for granted, but they do. Now, this year in particular, we had a high attrition rate. This year, we actually have 22 new people in the group, which is about kind of half. And, but it never felt like a rebuilding year. As a matter of fact, this group, in my 6 years at Oakwood, this group perhaps is the group that gets along well the most. They came right in on day one and had that Labor Day social, and they just bonded really quickly. And so how do I do it? I don't have an exact formula. Some years it happens better than others. This year was great, and you just kind of go with the punches. So you bob and weave and you make it work.
And Justin, one of the things I know we've talked about off camera before is just the whole idea about this group really sticks together, it gels together because you guys look out for each other. You support one another, you encourage one another, you're there for one another, and you really are creating a kind of a family sense so that when we see you performing on a stage and you all are not only singing, but sometimes you're interacting with each other and you're engaged in sort of, it's kind of a physical singing that goes on sometimes in the process of what you're doing, which always looks interesting and is always engaging to the audience when we see it. That's what you're experiencing because you're actually building a foundation for relationships outside of those venues. Is that right?
Sir. Yes, sir. It's funny. It's a funny story. We kind of made that the focus when we first started this school year, we had socials and different leaders who tried to stress the fact that we have to get along in order for this entity to work. And we were singing at ACDA, American Choral
Directors Association.
And there was a guest clinician there. And the first thing that he said when we got done singing was, I can tell that this person cares just as much about the person singing next to them as they do about themselves. And it was kind of funny. We had been preaching this concept all year, and a musical mind, he's studied music. He could have easily said something about our vowels, about our diction, but the first thing that came out of his mouth is, I can tell that you all care about each other. So that is a dynamic that a lot of organizations overlook, but I think it's needed for one to, we have performances and we're out there singing on a constant basis. And, we must get along in order for our message to get across. And I think that's probably been the biggest strength about this current group that Professor Ferdinand has been leading this year.
Yeah, and I imagine those of us, again, who come and see you guys perform, we marvel at the excellence that we see. But we know that comes from some practice, and it comes from a lot of being able to synchronize things and integrate processes and examine and assess things and be dedicated and committed and loyal. So, those are the things, those words never come out in the performance, but you experience that through what we see.
Yes, sir.
Give us a little inside look at what if there's such a thing as a typical, or what one Aeolian rehearsal might look like.
Okay.
Mercy.
Well, I've never told him this, but he reminds me of one of the great legendary coaches. The Super Bowl trophy is named after him, Mr. Vince Lombardi. And I was watching a special on Vince, and Vince, I want to say he started with the New York Giants as an assistant coach. He was a young guy, so he was coming and he was, hollering at some of the players, and he was very strict. And some of the players, they weren't respecting him. He was a young guy, but I think because he started out young, and he was able to, they spoke on the special one night. He went into the hotel room and he talked to the players, and he was like, what am I doing wrong? Now, I'm not saying he's ever went through that experience, but the fact that Vince started out young and was able to get that experience with the New York Giants and then went to the Green Bay Packers, I've still yet to put my finger on, like he said, the formula of how Mr. Lombardi was such a great coach. But one thing I will say is he set the tone at the beginning of the season. He set the tone at his practices, even when he went to the Washington Redskins. I remember in the special, he basically told them, we will have a winning record this year. And he said it with such a presence where it made the team believe. And I think, our director's biggest upside is if he does not come with a certain demeanor or a certain sense of confidence on those first couple of rehearsals, the whole year probably will be lost. But I can give you this to answer your question about the rehearsals. I remember when I first got into the Aeolians, and my brother, who had been in the Aeolians for like 2 years, he was even scared, calling me. He was like, we have to re-audition. Even the old members have to re-audition. And so we had a piece that we had to learn. We came in. Once we did the piece, we still had another callback. So, you can just see the music building. It was flooded with people just in the practice rooms. And from that day, and this is my junior year, but the tone has been set that, Mr. Ferdinand, he doesn't play. He doesn't play. And so from then on, everybody kind of comes into the Aeolians, into the practice, understanding that it is an honor to be a part of such an elite group. There are a lot of talented voices in the world. There are even a lot of talented people on our campus. But if you're not buying into the system of, we have to be on our P's and Q's, we have to be elite, there's a legacy at stake, and there's a message that needs to be put across. And so I always look at him, and I refer to him as, like a Vince Lombardi, because, the practices, they are very strenuous. they're not for the faint at heart. I will say that. But it's because of that. You know, they always say the practice is supposed to be harder than the performance. And it's because of that that we're able to perform at an elite level.
Well, you call him Lombardi, I'll call him Maestro.
Okay.
And so Maestro, as you know, we talk about your approach to this whole process. I recognize that in your position, directing this elite group, that mediocrity is not an acceptable standard. I also recognize that you're probably constantly raising the bar and challenging those students to give more than they may even think they have. Right. I would also imagine that there's a saying by John Maxwell, the author, that teamwork makes the dream work and together everyone achieves more. That you probably have some students at Oakwood who could be Aeolians on their voice, but perhaps are not Aeolians because of some other dynamics. So just talk about that whole process of how this group is really one voice in one sense as it relates to the whole notion of working together as a team.
Let me answer this way. Right before spring tour, I pulled the GPAs for this group. And again, my 6 years at Oakwood, this group has the highest GPAs I've seen in my time at Oakwood.
Wow.
Like really. Wow. And that tells you something immediately. A lot of science majors in the group. So, you know, these are people who are used to studying and being prepared and that kind of thing. Yeah, there are people that voice-wise could be in this group, but, you know, discipline-wise are not there, or focus-wise are not there. And we need all those elements to make this thing work. And like Justin said, and you alluded to as well, you know, it keeps developing and changing, and it is a very it's not stagnant. It's
a fluid process.
Fluid process. So this year, I think, without really letting them know, it's become a very intellectual process. Like now, I'm giving homework. You know, come back on Tuesday with this and this learned, and they do, and it makes the process. You could strive for so much more when everybody is giving more. And it doesn't always make it seem that strenuous. Like I'm not beating them on the head, you know, just go study, we come back and we get to another level. And definitely felt the growth in this year. I mean, I have to push myself to not look ridiculous in front of them. Really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
6 years as a director of the Aeolians. What have you learned in that process?
Oh man. I've learned a lot. Patience. I think one thing I've learned probably the most at Oakwood, and we were talking about this driving up here, this time of the year it gets so intense with final exams, alumni weekend is coming, voice juries, recitals, and the ability to forecast well in advance now down to, when I say forecast, down to a minute of a rehearsal.
Wow. Wow.
For example, I was up to like 5 a.m. this morning just mapping out the semester. You know, it's because it's always changing. So I already know next week, on next Thursday, the last 30 minutes of rehearsal, I know what I need to be doing. I didn't have to really think like that 5 years ago. Maybe I just didn't think to think like that. But now I've had to learn that, and it saves a lot of stress if I could just plan ahead. And they know me. I don't really like forecasting. We sing this at this point. They know me. I'll call a song and we just go. But the rehearsal process and the learning process, I've had to map it out almost to the minute now. So I think I've learned that the most in the last maybe 2 years or so.
How do you determine what songs you're going to perform?
At a given moment?
Yeah.
I always use this term, feel the room. We go to a church, you know, you kind of sit there and see what the pastor's saying, see how the people are reacting. Are we in a happy mood right now? Is it a somber mood right now? So I just kind of feel the room and try to listen to, you know.
It's funny you asked that.
So you're kind of thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
I turn around a lot of times to some of my choir mates, and we make bets.
On what song?
Right. He's going to start with How Great Thou Art. No, he's doing Jerusalem. You know, because you never know. But yeah, over time, I think, you know, I've gotten pretty good at kind of guessing at what he's going to do. But I'm still not there yet. So.
Right. Yeah. And you, of course, have a leadership role now. I've seen you directing the group on occasion.
Yes,
what does it mean to you to be, I'm sure it's an honor to do that, but obviously it comes with some responsibility.
Yes.
What does that feel like for you?
Wow. I'm honored. And it's probably, this year has probably been a surprising year for me. I've always been in the choir, and to a certain extent, I feel like I've been a leader, but more by example, you know, being on time, making sure my music is learned. I never really imagined that I was capable to be the leader out front, you know, directing the choir, or if he's absent, you know, leading rehearsals. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I really think that, and it's in a very mysterious way, because I can't put my finger on it, but he does a great job of, I guess, believing in me. I never thought I was capable to do some of the things that I've been able to do this year, but it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to throw you in the water. You want to survive, you know, swim. The only difference is, you know, he's not at the edge of the pool, you know, yelling or you know, he's kind of very mild-tempered, and he treats me as a mentee. He treats me as a little brother, or even to an extent a son. And so to me, that has helped me just kind of have belief in myself, have confidence in myself. Me and my friend talk, and he always says, you know, he plays basketball. He says about that confo. And I'm like, what is confo? And he was like, you know, the difference between a lot of great players and good players is just confidence. You know, do you have the confidence to take that last shot? And to me as the coach, you know, well, Justin, I think you can do this. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, you do? But because I think encouragement it goes a long way. Yeah. Motivation goes a long way, and because he's been able to trust me in doing that, I try to do the same things to my choir members, even on a non-musical level. If I see somebody who is not having a good day, somebody who needs a ride to the store, our togetherness goes beyond just in the practice room, and that's what I've learned a lot about being a leader. You know, it goes past the musical score. It goes past, you know, playing the notes on the piano, making sure somebody has their part. It's kind of like, you know, I need to show that I care for you, and I feel like because he's done that for me, I've been able to do that for my choir members, and the group is well together. Yeah.
Well, you guys continue to make it just the cream of the crop when it comes to this particular group in terms of musical talent, year after year. And I've been in this community for many years now. You know, one iteration of the Aeolians after another. Have appreciated them and enjoyed them so much. I will have to say, this is my favorite iteration. And having watched Maestro here perform now for the last 6 years and lead this group has been just an extraordinary experience. And I think anybody you talk to will say that. Your command of the process, your love for what you're doing, your commitment is obvious, and it comes clearly through in the performances of these young people, because they cannot give you what they give you if you did not have that relationship. I want to ask you though, are you a perfectionist?
My dad always called me very intense. I don't know what he was trying to say, but I may be in a quiet way. I think so.
Yeah. And in a sense, I guess, you know, as far as your music is concerned, there's nothing wrong with that, because you are trying to get the best out of these very talented young people. And to kind of play on what Justin was just saying, I'm sure you have the obvious that we see, which is the natural talent in many of the performers. But you have issues of lack of confidence. You have people who are feeling a little discomfort with being out in front of a group singing and the team building kind of thing, working with people they may not know and getting comfortable with all those kinds of dynamics. So you're really dealing with so much more than just the musical gift that people have, which is, I think, an even greater testament to the ability to come in as a leader and being able to have an impact on young people. What do you see for the Aeolians 5, 10 years down the line? We're in a high-tech community or a society now, and of course the Aeolians travel everywhere and perform everywhere and do lots of different things. Where do you see this group evolving to 5, 10 years from now?
What I would really like to see the Aeolians doing next 5, 10 years from now is that our students get to experience more of what I'll call being in the fabric of classical music on a more frequent basis. What do I mean by that? I went to Morgan State University and University of Maryland. Just the location of those schools allows them to sing with the Baltimore Symphony or the Philadelphia Orchestra or the New York Symphony. Huntsville, the location is a little strange. You know, you have the Huntsville Symphony, but you don't have the major orchestras close by. But I think with word of mouth and we keep the stellar performances up, there's no reason why any of these big names should not be calling us to do a Verdi Requiem or a Mozart Requiem. So I think myself, whoever comes 5 years later, I think that's something we can easily do. The world hasn't heard these great works in the voices of students like this. I mean, I think that would be amazing. And I keep telling them all the time, like, even right now, we are working on some repertoire that the choral world is used to hearing with a certain ear. In their voices, to me, it has a added richness and added colors to it that the same canon of music has never really experienced. And I think the classical world kind of needs to hear that. And, you know, that'll just expand their horizons. It'll put Oakwood on a totally different level, because the classical art world, man, is just is rich figuratively and literally.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
And we've yet to really experience that on a frequent level.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I imagine on a short list of dream jobs, this has to be one of those opportunities.
Being at Oakwood?
Being at Oakwood, working with the Aeolians.
It's interesting. Growing up, you know, my siblings will tell you we never wanted to work for the church. So I laugh at it a lot. We grew up, my dad was a Seventh-day Adventist University administrator. And so it wasn't on my list, really. Like, it kind of stumbled in a way. I stumbled into Pine Forge. Then from Pine Forge came here. So I didn't really have it on a list, but I'll make it a dream job while I'm here.
Well, it certainly has become a dream job for us as we watch you perform, and continued best wishes. If people wanted more information about the Aeolians, is there some place that they can go to get that information?
Sure, definitely. You could go to the Oakwood University webpage, and actually now, I think today, we just added a donate button to the page, and there you could donate to the Latvia trip that's coming up, even buy products, CDs and DVDs. That's for one. We also have a Aeolians Facebook page. You can just go to Facebook and type it in. There's an Oakwood Aeolians Instagram page. There's a Twitter account that these guys run.
Lots of stuff. All right. That's right.
You can follow us on Instagram at Oakwood Aeolians and on Twitter at The Aeolians. So if you're tech savvy, we have places for you to follow us there as well. So.
All right. All right. Jason Ferdinand, he's the maestro himself, the director of the Oakwood University Aeolians. Thank you for being here.
No problem at all, Kenny. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Justin Jordan, always a pleasure to be able to talk to you. He's a member of that great group and a student at Oakwood. We didn't get into a lot of the student side.
Right.
But maybe we'll have you come back and talk about that, especially upon graduation.
Oh, yes. It will be my pleasure. I can talk about graduation for days.
Thanks, guys, for being here. We thank you for being a part of our broadcast. We're going to take you out today, actually, with just a short taste of what the Aeolians sound like so that you can appreciate even more the richness of their talent. I'm Kenny Anderson, as always, for Impact. We'll see you again soon.